Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to your fitness assessment. This is the deep squat. And so the deep squat is a excellent overall indicator of lower body strength, mobility, and core strength. So I'm going to show you a few different modifications that you can work on, and I'm going to walk you through the technique to make sure that you're focusing on the right things in this pose. And I'm going to also give you a target time to hold. Let's get started. The first variation of this, I want you to hold on to something. So if you have a wall, I don't really have something in front of me right now, but if you have a pillar or a wall or even holding on to the kitchen sink, I want you to use that to help you have, or to help you get an idea of the right technique for the deep squat, so that we aren't, even if we don't have the strength or the core strength or that mobility to do it, we're getting you into the right position instead of doing it incorrectly with more resistance or with more body weight. So you're going to hold on to something. You're going to keep your toes, and actually if you're new, I would point your toes slightly out. Don't point your toes way out 45 degrees, but you can point them out maybe 15 or 20 degrees. And we want to get the weight in the hips. So it's very important that we don't have the weight in the knees. So you're making sure that you're getting your butt back instead of letting the knees come forward and then bringing your hips toward your heels. We want to get the butt way back as much as we can. So holding on to that pillar, that sink, whatever you have in front of you, squeeze your upper thighs toward one another, squeeze your glutes, right? So get your butt muscles hard. Keep the knees back behind the toes and then bring your butt back like so. And you're holding on here. And our goal is to get the hips to, getting the hips to knee level or a little bit below that. Our goal is to get the hips just below the knees with the back flat. So use whatever you have in front of you, right? Use that pillar to hold on and try to get your chest upright. And we want to work on holding this for 30 seconds. So that is level one, is doing the deep squat with an assist, using something in front of you, holding on to something, an external force to help you do the right technique without leaning forward too much. And then I want you to move away from the wall to try level two. So level two would be unassisted. And for this, we want to keep our chest as upright as possible and avoid the knees coming forward. So what most people make the mistake in doing here is bringing the knees forward and then kind of falling forward like this because they're scared to lean back. So what I need you to do is keep your weight toward the back and keep your chest upright. And we're going to work on sitting down here. Now, if you find that you can't go hips below the knees, that's okay. I want you to work on keeping your chest upright and keeping your spine neutral or slightly extended, so slightly arched. So we're going to work on coming down now. And if you get to this point where you can't really go down hips past the knees without leaning forward, then we're going to consider you kind of a level two. Or you can't get to the point where your hips are below your knees, but you still have your chest upright. This is going to be more of a level two. So the weight's still in the hips here. Again, you want to make sure the weight is in the hips. You're going to have some of the weight in your knees, but most of the weight should be focused on the core area. So from the mid-thighs up through your ribs, core and hips. So this is level two, right around here with your chest neutral, or a little bit lower with your back rounded. Okay, so there's our level two. And you should be able to hold all of these for 30 seconds. Level three is what we want to aim for. So this includes the proper uprightness through the chest, so the proper core strength, and it also includes the proper hip depth. So this is measuring not only our hip mobility, our hip strength, and our core strength, but also ankle mobility. The ability to keep our heels flat on the ground is also a big part of a squat. So if you notice that you start to go down, and maybe your heels start to come off the ground, then that also suggests a lack of ankle mobility, which is something you can also work on here. So now level three is putting all of this together, getting deep into the squat, but also keeping your chest upright. So for level three, we're going to work on squeezing the hips toward one another, again, getting the weight in the glutes, getting the core tight, keeping the chest up, and then slowly sitting down into the squat. So sinking hips below the knees, and then pulling the chest up away from the thighs. So one thing I like to do here, bring your hands to your thighs, push up, so push down through your thighs and lift your chest up. And now we've got a neutral spine, right? So my back is neutral or slightly arched. I've got the weight in my hips, my glutes are engaged. My knees might come over my toes at this point, and that's fine. But again, I'm really working on keeping my chest lifted and upright. And then the arms can come out in front to help counterbalance. And I should be able to hold this for 30 seconds. Level 4, as you're getting stronger, what I like to do is I hold this for 10 breaths. So this is something I do on a daily basis. 10 breaths in this deep squat position. And as you get more mobile in the hips, what's going to happen is you'll be able to turn the toes to face straight forward. So you might start off with your toes facing slightly out like this to get down into it, but that's really a cheat button. You want to work to the point where your toes are facing straight forward, and that will help you properly engage the glutes, and that also keeps this more honest. Better hip mobility for sure. So this is where you want to work on getting toward. Being able to hold this for 10 breaths, maybe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, which is a long time. That's over a minute. And then getting the arms up too, and working on lifting the chest up, right? So getting as much length through the chest as possible and a little bit of an arch through the back. And as you stand up, you should be able to come straight up without leaning forward. So from this deep squat position, I should be able to come from here, right, without leaning forward, straight back up. Squeezing my core, squeezing my glutes, and coming back upright. So that is the deep squat. Again, that is working on mostly hip strength, hip mobility, and core strength, but we're also working on ankle mobility, and also there's a lot of hip endurance, core endurance, as we're working on that. So we've got a few different levels, right? You've got first level is assisted, using a wall, using a pillar, using a sink, using something to help you lean back into the squat. Right? So holding onto something so that you can lean back and almost lift yourself up using the assistance of your arms. Level 2 is moving away from that support, but not quite being able to get down your hips below the knees with your chest lifted or your spine neutral, or just getting to the point where your knees aren't, where your hips aren't below the knees yet, but you still have a neutral spine. And then level 3 is getting the hips below the knees, keeping the chest upright, keeping the spine neutral or slightly extended or arched, right? And being able to hold this squat for 30 seconds. And ideally getting to the point where your toes face straight forward. But you can start with the toes facing out and work your way in. All right, guys, that is the deep squat. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, as you're doing this assessment, it's really useful to record it. So use the use the video app on your phone, use a timer on your camera, and if you plan on doing this a lot, you can prop it up against something, or you can buy yourself a camera stand. They're like $10 on Amazon. So that's what I've got, and I will see you on the next assessment or the next workout.